This is of Cenk Uygur having a critique of Bernie Sanders. Let's listen to what he's saying here. Actually, let me read the caption just to give you a little bit more background here. Another case study QB video. TYT Cenk Uygur discussing Bernie Sanders not going on progressive shows anymore and missed opportunities to fight for 15. So he's talking about the fight for 15 and Bernie Sanders shunning leftists. I guess he's including TYT in that. I'm assuming that's why he's saying that. So, but let's listen.
How much did they cave on $15 minimum wage when they could have fought? It's not theoretical, guys. There's actual facts. Even after they lost in the first COVID relief bill, while barely fighting, and by the way, the Young Turks audience had to shame Bernie Sanders into proposing it as an amendment. He was just gonna let Schumer take it out of the bill. That's just a fact. And by the way, Bernie Sanders won't come on any progressive shows anymore. I don't know, maybe he'll go on ones that promise him softballs. But he goes on Bill Maher, he goes on mainstream media shows, but he won't come on here because he knows we're gonna ask him, so what are you gonna do to pass it, Bernie? Is this just marketing or do you actually mean it? So last thing is.
It's so cute how Cenk pretends Bernie doesn't go on TYT because he's sort of afraid that they're so radical, like they're gonna ask him something that's so radical. I mean, it's cute that he's, you know, sort of trying to push that line, but I have noticed something, and the two of you may not be as tuned in on what Cenk, the latest thing Cenk Uygur have said, or the latest happenings of Cenk, but I have noticed that he has, ever since some of the things that has happened with Anna has come out, the last 2 or 3 weeks, their clips, he's trying to appear more forceful, more radical to the left. Ever since sort of the things that's been happening with Anna, and they've been called out as moving to the right. And I think an article in one of the newspapers, I can't remember who it was, Current Affair, it wasn't Jacobin. They were talking about how TYT has moved to the right, but ever since then, he's been trying to make it a point to appear or use more like radical sounding language that he has not been using lately. And so I added that part. So let's let it finish, and then I'll get your comments on the entire video, and we'll move to the final topic.
Thing is, okay, they lost on COVID relief bill, but Chuck Schumer said something unprecedented. And he said it to The Intercept. The article's public, you could all see it. Ryan Grimm interviewed him, and Chuck Schumer said, I will put $15 minimum wage in every bill going forward. That's a golden opportunity, golden. That's when progressives should step up and go.
Is that a golden opportunity? Or are they just taking an opportunity knowing that any bill that involves money has to come out of the House, and the House is ran by the GOP? You notice, so maybe I am right in my analysis of TYT appearing more radical. It could be it coincides with the same reason why some elected Democrats are more radical sounding and doing more bills. It's because the House is ran by the Republicans and they know nothing is actually going to happen. So it's that. But let me let it play. I know I keep stopping it and saying I'm going to let it play, but this time I'll let it finish out a full minute, no stops.
I agree with Chuck Schumer. It should go in every bill going forward, and we're not going to vote for any of these bills unless it's got $15 minimum wage, and we have our beautiful ally Chuck Schumer with us. Now, why did Chuck Schumer do that? Because he was worried that AOC was going to run against him in that Senate seat. But they took that power and leverage and they flushed it down the toilet. Not one progressive asked Chuck Schumer to ever put it in a bill again. That's a negligence and dereliction of duty beyond imagination. It breaks my heart to tell you that, but that's what happened. These guys, they don't know politics at all. So it's just incredibly dispiriting to see this happen. But by the way, to Bernie and to the Justice Democrats, I know you mean well. I'm not questioning your intent at all. So prove us wrong. Fight for these. The wealth tax is very, very difficult, but the minimum wage is incredibly popular. All you have to do is fight. Prove us wrong, fight. But my guess is Anna's right, you won't, it's just marketing.
This has been reaction to a lot of some of the things that Bernie had been saying. He's been putting out videos that he's doing this and he's doing that. And I mean, TYT and Jenks sort of have the same critique, like, prove it. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to fight? So there's a lot I've said in that segment. I'll start with Michelle and then go to Anthony. This is a shorter segment, so I know your analysis may not be as long. So, but whatever you have to contribute, what do you have to give, or what do you not to give to say about Jenks' critique of Bernie, and maybe also how, just like Democrats, TYT appears to be more radical talking when there's split power and Democrats aren't in power in the House. So any and all of that you can talk about or part of it. Michelle, what's your analysis of that?
I agree with you in saying that they're being more radical because they can get away with being more radical. But the part that is more interesting to me is, why are they being more radical? Because we live in a country of haves and have nots. Those people that have the resource that don't have to worry about those that don't have the resource. And when he's talking about $15 an hour minimum wage, that's not sustainable anymore anyways, because most states you need at least a $20 to $22 an hour minimum wage in order for us to even barely eke by and survive. And you can bet, as soon as we put more money into the ownership class, the people that own everything around us, the businesses, everything else, that they'll raise our rents again to make it more than that again, until we have the controls that keep things affordable and ensure that we have, as human beings, we have a right to housing, a right to healthcare, a right to food on our table, a right to healthy food in our country, So it goes back to also that rubber band of comfort. You can dabble and be slightly uncomfortable when it's safe to be uncomfortable. So Absolutely. You can go into this cause of, we need more money for the base workers, while they're also stripping away worker rights. We've got more child labor issues going on in our country today than we've had in I don't know how many years. We've got more. We still have sub-minimum wage for disabled people, which allows them to pay people pennies an hour, as long as they're being supported by some nonprofit that's getting the rest of the money, So all of these policies and processes facilitate people being toxic. And toxic can be, I'll play this part today. I'll put this role on because it's safe today to put this role on. And tomorrow I'll walk away from it when somebody else gets elected, or somebody decides not to endorse me when I'm running for office. And now I want to be their shadow and say all that they're doing is wrong, so.
Absolutely. And also, if you want to also attack that briefly, Professor, your thoughts on this. I don't know if I've seen a tweet from you on this topic, but even if you didn't, what is your reaction to the critique of Bernie Sanders in this? And then also the pointing out the analysis of them being a little more radical now that they're split power with the GOP controlling the House. Go ahead, Professor.
Yeah, I think that's on the money, that they're able to say more things, and so is Chuck Schumer and all those people, because the House isn't going to pass any of this stuff onto the Senate in the first place. But, look, Cenk is not a dumb guy. He reads the mood, and he realizes his brand matters a lot to him. So he needs to appear, now that a lot of leftists are critiquing Bernie, he needs to appear like he's doing it too. But he waits till it's safe. I think Cenk is a charlatan. I don't believe he believes anything he says. I just think he's full of crap. And he's an opportunist. So there's no, I don't feel that, I don't watch TYT anymore. I don't get educated from it. It's just, they're kind of propping themselves up, and they want to look like they're at the vanguard of radical politics, and they are not. And just let's remember, the $15 wage was in the reconciliation bill. Schumer took it out because the parliamentarian told them, this is not something that is eligible for reconciliation. They could have ignored it, and they could have had the 50-50 vote, and Harris could have been the tiebreaker. Here's how we know, but that never happened. And then Bernie did his little performance. There was a vote, but of course it went down. 8 Democrats, by the way, voted against the $15 wage when it was taken out of the reconciliation bill. Not just Manson and Sinema. 8 Democrats in the Senate. So I don't want to hear like, oh, it was just 1 or 2 people. No, a good portion of that party doesn't give a shit that millions of Americans are suffering profoundly because of this unequal distribution of wealth and resources. And, the last indication of knowing that Cenk is not seriously a leftist is the fact that he even talks about a $15 wage, as Michelle was saying before. Like, that was 10 years ago that we were demanding it. I was marching in Burger Kings and McDonald's in Brooklyn. We went in there. We would do these pop-up little demonstrations, and we would be like, pay your workers a living wage. And we would go out. And that was in 2014 and 2015. It's 2023. So the bottom line federally needs to be 25. We probably need to ask for 30 to get the 25, and it's got to be immediate. But that's how I know that Cenk is not serious, because he thinks 15 is still like a thing. It's not. I would just recommend people not watch TYT. It's just not. You will learn nothing.